You're managing a project. You've got a dozen tasks, 3 teams who won't talk to each other, a deadline that moved twice, and a stakeholder who keeps changing the scope. Does that sound familiar? Now you've heard that AI can help you with project management. So you open ChatGPT and type, "Help me manage my project," and you get a generic checklist you could have Googled in 10 seconds yourself. The problem isn't that AI can't help with project management. It absolutely can. The problem is that most people prompt it like search engines instead of treating it like a junior project coordinator who needs a proper brief. In this video, I'll give you specific, ready-to-use prompts for project management tasks that eat up most of your time. Planning, risk assessment, stakeholder communication, and status reporting. These aren't theoretical. They're prompts I've refined myself through actual project work. If you haven't seen my prompt engineering video, I'd recommend watching that first. It covers the PCG framework I'll be using throughout this video. There is a link to it in the description. But even without it, you'll walk away with prompts you can copy and use today. Let's get into it. We'll cover 4 areas where AI actually makes a difference. First, project planning and scoping, turning vague objectives into actionable work breakdowns. Second, risk assessment, making sure you mitigate risks and have a plan to address those that may go from risk to an actual harmful event. Third, stakeholder communication, drafting updates, escalations, and meeting agendas. And fourth, status reporting and tracking, turning messy data into clear summaries your leadership team will actually read. In this video, I will be using different types of LLM tools. Use the AI tool you feel most comfortable with or have access to. Using AI for the project planning phase can help you save a lot of time, not only in the creative aspect of actually putting a plan together, but also in creating visuals such as roadmaps. The importance of visualizing and communicating your plan cannot be stressed enough. Now let me show you 3 prompts for the planning phase. Note that the project examples used are 100% fictional. The first thing you need on any project is a work breakdown structure, a fancy term for what are the pieces of work we actually need to do. Here's how I prompt for it. Persona. You are a senior project manager with experience in, and here you add your industry. Context. We are launching. Describe your project in 2 to 3 sentences. Include team size, the timeline, and any known constraints. Goal. Create a work breakdown structure with 3 levels of detail. For each work package at the lowest level, estimate effort in person days and flag any dependencies. Notice I'm using the PCG framework for my prompt engineering video, but the key here is specificity. I'm not saying create a project plan. I'm telling it the industry context, the constraints, and exactly what level of detail I need. The output won't be perfect. It never is on the first pass. But it gives you a solid starting point in minutes instead of hours. And you can iterate. You can tell the AI tool things as the development phase is too vague. Break the backend and frontend work into separate streams with their own milestones. Once you have the work breakdown, you need a timeline. Here's where people get burned, just jotting down dates and hoping for the best. I will assume you have done your homework and spoken to stakeholders to create a feasible time plan. In this segment, we will use an AI tool to help you validate that plan. The trick is to give the AI tool your work breakdown output and ask it to challenge its own estimates. My prompt. Based on this work breakdown, create a timeline with dependencies mapped. For each milestone, provide an optimistic, realistic, and pessimistic estimate. Flag any phases where parallel work is possible and any single points of failure that could delay the entire project. The 3-point estimate forces the AI to think in ranges instead of false precision. And asking it to flag single points of failure is something even experienced project managers forget to do systematically. The third planning prompt is the one that saves you the most pain later. Defining what's in scope and what's out of scope. I prompt. Based on this project description, draft a scope statement. Include objectives, deliverables, acceptance criteria, explicit exclusions, and 3 assumptions that can validate this plan if they turn out to be wrong. The last part, assumptions that could invalidate the plan, is gold. It forces you to articulate what you're taking for granted. We assume the client will provide test data by week 3. We assume the legacy system has a working API. These are the landmines. Better to name them now. Risk assessment is the thing everyone agrees is important and almost nobody does properly. Usually because it's tedious, it feels speculative, and nobody wants to be the person who lists 50 things that could go wrong. AI is perfect for this because it doesn't have an ego. It doesn't care about looking pessimistic, and it can draw on patterns from thousands of familiar projects. The LLM tool, or AI, did give a mitigation segment earlier. Let's go deeper into the risk assessment part of this exercise. Here's my risk assessment prompt. Persona. You are a risk management specialist who has worked on familiar projects that failed. Be pessimistic. Context. Paste your project description and work breakdown. Goal. Create a risk register with 15 to 20 risks. For each risk, provide a description, the probability as high, medium, or low, the impact as high, medium, or low, a trigger indicator. How would we know the risk is materializing, and a mitigation action. Note that in the prompt you see on screen, I just continued in the same session or chat box. I would advise you to start in a new session with this prompt, as you are switching the PCG scenario. In the context part, write down your project description, and as a bonus, attach relevant files to the chat window. 2 things to notice. First, I told the AI to be pessimistic and to think about projects that failed. This is a persona trick. It prevents the AI from being diplomatically vague. Second, I asked for trigger indicators. This is something that most risk registers miss. A risk without a trigger is just a worry. A risk with a trigger is actionable. After you get the output, here's a great follow-up prompt. Now identify the 3 risks most likely to cascade, where one risk materializing will trigger others. Map the chain reaction. This cascade analysis is something I've seen skip entire PMO teams. It takes 30 seconds with AI and it could save your project. As always though, always double check the output, do a quick sanity check, and look for hallucinations. My favorite risk prompt is the pre-mortem. This is a technique from behavioral psychology. Instead of asking what could go wrong, you tell the AI, it is 6 months from now. This project has failed badly. Write the post-mortem explaining what went wrong. Be specific about which decisions led to the failure and when warning signs were ignored. This reframe is powerful because it shifts the AI from listing generic risks to constructing a narrative of failure. You get insights like the team underestimated data migration complexity because they relied on the vendor's estimate without independent validation. That's specific. That's useful. Project managers spend an absurd amount of time writing emails, preparing meeting agendas, and crafting updates that say the right thing to the right audience. This is where AI saves you the most calendar hours. Here's my go-to for weekly stakeholder updates. Persona. You are a project manager communicating to senior leadership who have limited time and low tolerance for jargon. Context. Project name, current status. Here's where you paste your bullet points of what happened this week. Include what's on track, what's at risk, and any decisions needed. Goal. Draft a status update email. Lead with the one thing they need to know. Use traffic light colors for each workstream. Keep it under 200 words. End with any decisions or approvals you need from them with a clear deadline. The 200-word constraint is crucial. Left unchecked, AI will write you an essay. Your CISO doesn't want an essay. They want a dashboard in email form. For steering committee meetings, I prompt. Create a 60-minute steering committee agenda for this project. The committee includes, and here's where you list your stakeholders and their concerns. Structure the agenda so that the first 20 minutes cover decisions needed. The middle 20 minutes cover status and risks, and the last 20 minutes cover upcoming milestones and resources needed. For each agenda item, note who presents and the expected outcome, decision, information, or discussion. Structuring decisions first is a deliberate choice. Most meetings put updates first, run over time, and never get to decisions. Front-loading them respects everyone's time and forces action. The most difficult email any project manager writes is the escalation. Something has gone wrong and you need to tell someone that's senior about it. Here's my prompt for that kind of email. Draft an escalation email to, name a role. The issue is, here's where you describe it. Keep the tone factual, solution-oriented. What happened in 2 sentences? Impact on timeline and budget. 2 to 3 options with trade-offs, and your recommended path forward. Do not minimize the issue and do not assign blame. The do not minimize and do not assign blame instruction is important. AI defaults to diplomatic language that can come across as evasive. You want factual clarity. Leadership respects problems presented with solutions, not problems dressed up to sound less bad than they are. The last area is turning messy project data into clear reports. If you're pulling data from spreadsheets, Jira, email threads, or meeting notes, AI can consolidate and summarize faster than you can open files. Upload your project tracking spreadsheet or paste data, then prompt. Analyze this project data. Identify which tasks are behind schedule and by how much, which resources are over-allocated, any patterns in delays. Are certain teams or tasks types consistently slipping? Summarize findings in a format suitable for a project steering committee. Lead with the most critical issue. This is where AI shines because it can spot patterns humans miss when they're too close to the data. At the end of the project, or at a major milestone, I use this prompt. Based on this project's timeline, risk log, and status updates, and here is where you paste or upload them, draft a lessons learned document. For each lesson, include what's happened, why it happened, what we could do differently, and which future projects should apply this lesson. Categorize by theme: planning, execution, communication, and vendor management. Lessons learned documents are the most frequently requested and less frequently read artifacts in project management. Categorizing by theme and by linking to future projects make them actually reusable instead of just finding exercises. So here's the pattern across all the prompts we've gone through. Be specific about your context. The more the AI knows about your actual project, your team and your constraints, your stakeholders, the better the output. Ask for structure. Don't accept wall of text responses. Tell the AI exactly what format you need: tables, traffic lights, word limits, decision frameworks. Challenge the output. Use follow-up prompts like, what are you assuming? What did you miss? And argue against your own recommendation. The AI has no ego. Use that. And always validate. These prompts will save you hours, but the output is a draft, not a finished product. Read it, sense check it, especially anything going to leadership. If you want to go deeper on how to communicate with AI tools, watch my prompt engineering video. The link is in the description. And if you're new to AI entirely, start with my What is AI video for the bigger picture. All prompts from this video are summarized in the description below, so you can copy and adapt them. If this was helpful, like and subscribe. See you in the next one.